Jaylen Brown of the Celtics says he might sue the city of Beverly Hills for shutting down his party at 7 p.m. the other night after the All-Star game. Wow, suing the city of Beverly Hills. He'd better be careful, though. I heard the city of Beverly Hills has hired the law offices of Legally Blonde. Way to go, Jaylen Brown. You want to sue the city of Beverly Hills. That's one way to win when you're down there in L.A. Maybe. Well, you know, what's with the city of Beverly Hills shutting down the parties at 7 p.m.? Come on. You know, everybody knows that 7 p.m. is when real party people are just getting out of bed. Former president and current longed-for ex-boyfriend of the United States, Barack Obama, was seen at the All-Star game the other night, and it was great. Yeah, it was great to see him there for one thing, and also great to see him a mere 5 feet from a basketball in any direction and not watch him embarrass himself. And last but not least, but most definitely finally, the Winter Olympics are going on still in Milan Cortina. You guys know about this? Apparently, the medal count is as follows. Norway has 17 gold medals, and we, the United States, have 10. Really? Norway? That's not fair. I mean, these are people who use skis to go to the grocery store. So Super Bowl 60, Drake May really looked like a seasoned veteran, didn't he? Yeah, you never saw a betrayal of that confidence in his face and his expressions and his body language. He did have a rough go at it in a few of those games, but Drake May was all the way a professional. And then at the end, he let it all out and he cried. But how could you not after a season like this? I mean, we had everything this season. We had, who needs fourth quarter comebacks when you have overtime thrillers, you know, last second heroics. I mean, we had it all this season. We really did. It was an amazing football season. But now we're getting into what they call the off season, but what basketball and in the NHL they call the season. How you guys doing? Thank you again for tuning in. Welcome back to the Play Action Sports Show. I am glad that you tuned in with us here. And we did really well in the Super Bowl. The only thing that I did not pick correctly was the cover. I went with the AI's prediction. You know, we created an AI odds app here, a predictor of who would win between two NFL teams. And it picked the game to be like 15-12 Seahawks over the Patriots. Well, if not for a lot of mistakes made towards the end, it was pretty accurate, the bot that we created here. I hope you guys got a chance to make some money with us throughout the season. Of course, it's not legal in every state. Check your local laws before you do any gambling. And, you know, no question that the Seahawks disrupted Drake May's plans. The defense was just incredible. I mean, they couldn't be stopped. They looked like the 85 Bears in the middle there, you know. Of course, let's not get carried away. I know. I'm sorry. 85 Bears were the greatest ever. What's that you say? Yeah, I like them. The 85 Bears are my favorite football team of all time. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Rams, of course, and I do love the Rams of the last few years. But I gotta say, man, when it comes to all-star Hollywood type, you know, showmanship, you can't beat Jim McMahon. You know, you can't beat Walter Payton or William the Refrigerator Perry. Mike Ditka, the head coach. I'm not a Bears fan, but that is my favorite team of all time. You got to go with the 85 Bears. It'll be interesting to see this season what they do as far as a new stadium is concerned, if it's going to be in Aurora, Illinois. You know, that's so funny. Oh, man. Wait, what's up with Jaylen Brown? He wants to sue Beverly Hills, you know. Here's a quote I want to share with you, Jaylen Brown. I want to share with you a quote, okay? And it's by Steve Jobs. He said, "Maybe fun are just pieces of existence with better packaging." All right? Boy, that guy knew how to party, didn't he? Anyway. 7 p.m. I gotta say, I'm taking Jaylen Brown's side on this one. That's crazy. You shut down a party at 7 p.m. You know, the only thing that shuts down parties at 7 p.m. is if there's no more liquor and everybody's too drunk to go to the store. But did he get rattled? No. You know, he didn't. I don't think Drake May got rattled. I think what happened in the Super Bowl was just a inevitability. You know, inevitability of the. I can speak now. Yay! An inevitability of the Seahawks season. I mean, here's a team that's going to be sold. You know, they were fighting for even commercial value, market value, if you think about it. Of course, I'm just being a dork. You know, the NFL this season was great, and a lot of people will tell you it was an anticlimactic Super Bowl, but if you're a fan of defense, if you're a fan of hard-fought wins, of, you know, line of scrimmage battles, you can't go wrong with this Super Bowl. I mean, here you had Drake May losing to becoming the Jim Kelly, you know, to Sam Darnold's Phil Simms. Or actually, if you're a real football fan, you'll know that that's a bad example. No, Drake May became the Jim Kelly to Sam Darnold's Jeff Hostetler. I had to correct myself there. Jeff Hostetler, of course, taking over for the injured Phil Simms in 1991, I believe it was, when the Giants won the Super Bowl. And that brings me around to the Giants, okay? Here's a team that at the beginning of every season, everybody's talking about. And by the way, we're going to pick 3 teams here. We're going to pick 3 basketball games for you here. Okay, we're just doing a lot of monologuing here. But the New York Giants, we talk about them at the beginning of every season. And this season, especially, why do I still have these things? Anyway, this season especially, we had a lot of drama. We had Jackson Dart on the bench. You know, we had Russell Wilson, you know, trying to pull off another season, but he just couldn't do it. I mean, you know, he didn't have any protection. He had absolutely no offensive line at all. Can't expect Russell Wilson to operate back there when there's no wall. And then, of course, you had Coach, what's his name? Dable, I think is his name, right? What's his name? I think I got notes on this somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, Coach Brian Dable. By week 4, he was already on the outs, you know. And so there was a lot of drama. He put in Jackson Dart to start. Not trying to rhyme here. I'm not rhyming just to be riddling. Right. Speaking of riddling, I don't need that. This is caffeine. Anyway, it was a dramatic season at the beginning, but then again, like always, the Giants fizzled out, fired their head coach. The Jets never stood a chance. You know, Pete Carroll got fired in Las Vegas. It was crazy. I thought he was going to do a lot better there. Now they've hired the offensive coordinator from Seattle. I'm sure he'll be surprised to find out when he shows up in Las Vegas that they actually don't have an offense for him to work with. But it's all right. I think he's going to try. He's going to do good. But for now, let's do the NBA. Yes, it's the NBA now here on the Play Action Sports Show. And where are we at? How's it looking? You know, it's looking like we got to probably talk about the Winter Olympics more. Because who's dominating right now? We got the Celtics. No. I think Detroit and New York, I believe, were... Who was it? It was Golden. Gosh, I'm really bad. San Antonio was one of the top teams in the West, last I looked. And I believe it was either the Memphis Grizzlies. No, the Thunder. That's right, the OKC Thunder. And in the East, it was like two teams that are always at the top. I don't know. I forgot how to talk. It was the Pistons and I believe the Celtics on the top of the East. Either way, it's gonna be a good season. And you know, like anything else, I have the philosophy when it comes to picking and things like that. I have the philosophy that you get good at something by actually doing it. You don't get good at something by studying, researching, taking notes. That's all good and well, but you have to actually dive in and do something to get good at it. So let's do our pick 6, which is actually pick 3. Okay, we've got 3 NBA games this weekend. We've got 1 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. So Saturday's game, the Houston Rockets at the New York Knicks. It's 5:30 p.m. on Saturday. The New York Knicks looking pretty tough this season, but you know, there are ups and downs like always. Houston Rockets, I think they're favored to win this game. We're gonna go with the Rockets to beat the Knicks at the Garden. All right, this is gonna be a very quick segment because I'm not talking over-unders. I'm not talking point spreads. Why? Because in basketball, I have now noticed that the point spreads are all over the map. All right? You know, like, for instance, in our Celtics-Lakers game, it was like either 3.5 to 11.5 favorites. You know, the Celtics, I believe, were. I mean, ridiculous. It's like you're laying bets with Sil and Tony at, you know, down in, you know, on The Sopranos or something. It's just not good to have such a wide spread of odds, I think. So we're just going to pick winners. I'm going to go with the Houston Rockets to beat the Knicks. Next, we've got the Toronto Raptors at the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't believe the Bucks are doing too well. I don't know about the Raptors. We're going to go ahead and pick the Raptors. Do I have any reasoning for this at all? I think because the Milwaukee Bucks don't have a good record. I think that's my reasoning. Last but not least, I told you it was going to be a quick segment. We got to get better at basketball. By the way, we're going to do hockey too. But not right now because, as you know, if you're a hockey fan, there is no hockey until like the 5th of March or something like that. Or February 25th or something like that. Whatever it is, there's no hockey because of the Winter Olympics, all right? So we're not going to pick hockey. Last but not least, the Celtics at Lakers. Of course, Jaylen Brown, the big news that we talked about this week, that he might sue the city of Beverly Hills. It's a 7 p.m. shutdown. That's what they told you, didn't they? I think he's going to come into L.A. and beat the Lakers. You know, he's going to prosecute that case on the court. You know, he's gonna slam dunk some injunctions up in there. And LeBron James has the knee injury, by the way. You know, which is keeping him. I think it kept him as questionable for tonight against the Clippers. Okay, not very ready for this yet, as you can see, but thank you very much for tuning in. You know, we got to find a better site than like Odds Shark and CBS Sports Online, things like this, to find the odds on this basketball stuff. If you guys have any suggestions, listen, the comment section is wide open and it's probably empty. All right, by the way, don't forget to gamble responsibly. I always got to mention that at the end of every Pick 6 segment, and thank you. Of course, we've got the shortened show this week. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate all of your likes, your listens. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. You guys make a big difference around here. And I always got to burp. The Raiders hired the Seahawks offensive coordinator. I think his name was, I'm not going to try to guess. I don't have my phone with me. It's not charged. All right, lots of teams are going to need good drafts this year, and the Raiders are one of them. They don't have an offense, as we spoke about earlier. You know, the Raiders, the Jets, and the Browns, these teams need good drafts this year. I didn't say big drafts. I said good drafts. They need to come up with players that are going to stick around, that are going to do the job and develop, you know, and who are willing to put their entire career on the line with the hopes that the Jets might become a Super Bowl champion. Listen, they have to put their entire career on the line. They have to bet their career, if you will, on the possibility that the Jets, who have won exactly 0 Super Bowls since Joe Namath and his pantyhose, and they got to just pray that they win a Super Bowl there. I can't imagine that anybody would want to be a Jet. And it's embarrassing at this point to be a Jet. I wish that team would do better. I really do. At this point, the Browns might win a Super Bowl before the Jets do again. And the Browns have never won a Super Bowl. Go figure. Cleveland, what a football community. I mean, Ohio really is the cradle of football. You talk about Canton, Ohio, having the Hall of Fame. Boy, we got to talk about the Hall of Fame because, of course, this is what you call a hard cut. Ohio definitely deserves better teams than the Bengals and the Browns, or they deserve those teams to get better. All right. Now let's talk about the Hall of Fame. They snubbed Billy Belichick, which was big news before the Super Bowl. I mean, that was the huge news going into the Super Bowl. Do you think you actually care if you're Bill Belichick? Do you think he cares about being snubbed from the Hall of Fame? I mean, okay, the Hall of Fame can probably take a few notes from Bill Belichick's trophy room. You know what I mean? They could probably design their Hall of Fame better by looking at Bill Belichick's accomplishments, okay? I don't even like the guy. He's not necessarily a likable guy. I don't hate him either or dislike him in any way, but he doesn't give me any reason to be like, oh my God, I love Bill. But maybe that's because I'm not a 20-year-old college freshman woman. I'm kidding. You know what? Everybody's jealous of you, Bill. You got a beautiful girlfriend. You're 97 years old. You're the emperor of Star Wars. I mean, who wouldn't be jealous? Who needs the Hall of Fame and any of their pretense when you have a Death Star? You literally have a Death Star. Okay, that's enough of that. I don't understand how the loyalty to futility ratio is tolerated in these teams like the Rams. Did I say no? The Raiders. I'm sorry, the Raiders and the Jets and the Browns. How can you tolerate so much futility? Well, you know what? I'm a real fan. Are you? Are you a real fan or a real depressed fan? I think you're a real depressed fan. Okay. That's thoughts on that. I really hope the Raiders and the Jets and the Browns get it together. This is the part of the show that is not scripted, which is why I'm winging it and which is why I'm the most annoying out of the entire show. Thank you guys for listening, your likes, your everything. You're my everything. By the way, caffeine is a hell of a drug. And, I do want to get serious for a second here because we might be on the verge or the edge of a war. Of course, I'm talking about the Iran war. And I have nothing to say politically about this at all except, and this is not politically, but I do have something to say, is that I do pray for all our service members overseas, no matter where they are, whether they're stationed on a ship or whether they're on foreign soil. These folks, they deserve all the credit in the world. They're far away from their families, and they're there protecting us, whether you agree with the politics of it or not. The literal fact that they are the military of the United States means that they are constantly protecting us. Without them even existing, we'd be overrun. We'd be overrun in a second, And the day that happens, all right, I'm going to go to Panda Express and see if they've updated their menu, all right? I like their menu, but maybe a little more traditional Chinese offerings in the menu. But before we get there, how about we defend Taiwan? How about we defend the Pacific Ocean? How about we maintain some sort of balance in the world? How about that? All right. Now you guys see why I stopped talking politics, and now it's only sports. Shout outs to everybody. You guys, I love you all. Take care of yourselves and enjoy the games this weekend.